Study objectives, and also I'll show those two longer videos on the Hillside Strangler and David Chapman. They are interesting. If you can afford an hour, you don't have to stay for the full 2 hours. Or if you have any study questions that you'd like answered, we'll have kind of a general class review a week from today, which is a free day. I will promise you on Tuesday to show you in class the schizophrenia films and the multiple personality. I'm going to shut this door.
Oh, it's so hot.
Seriously, last class we were talking about how Skinner's worked with rats that have been reinforced intermittently. Every once in a while, he found that those rats would respond in a very rapid way, and it was hard to eliminate their behavior. That's very relevant in explaining compulsive behavior like gambling. Gambling pays off every once in a while. And the history of compulsive gamblers, if you look back at their gambling history, they've made some early hits. And it's almost like that rat in the Skinner box who's thinking is an illustration of that. That's where we left off. That brings us, just to recap what we did last time, that brings us to number 7. Thanks to you. Could you bracket off 7 and 8? Because on the outline, I don't know if I did a good job of making it clear. Up to now, we were talking about how people develop habits through reinforcement, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement that occurs periodically. 7 and 8 are a little different from all the stuff we've talked about above. Those are strategies for getting rid of the behavior, eliminating it, as opposed to increasing it. And again, we'll look at Skinner's work, actually drop out. You know, it's like dinosaurs becoming extinct. Smoking a lot, then after years of smoking, they became extinct. Just the behavior eliminates, drops out. That was a Gary Larson cartoon that just flashed into my head. To extinguish, to put out, to eliminate. What about with children now? Let's get out of the rat cage. In many cases, when children misbehave, you want to get rid of a behavior that is undesirable. In many cases, what is the reinforcement? Produces a drop in a misbehavior. Temper tantrums, even classroom misbehavior. Kids will do it, frankly. Kids, it was great. They get to sit up in front of the class where everybody looks at them. And in essence, what it was actually rewarding the misbehavior. A kid misbehaves, the teacher goes over, picks him up, gets attention from the teacher, puts him up in front of the room, gets eye contact from all his adoring peers. The timeout room, very common. These people going on in education. You talk about child management. That's very popular in the California school system, and I know it was popular in Iowa before I left. Kid misbehaved. What is a timeout room? Timeout. Jennifer?
A room where he's just isolated?
Yeah, it's social isolation. I mean, it's not, we're not locking him in a dark closet like Patty Hearst was, but you isolate him, put him in a room by himself, he's given a task to do, homework or something. But just what is removed then? What reinforcement is eliminated in this case? Yeah, and corporal punishment is banned in schools. Private schools, they can do what they wish, as I understand the law. Does anyone know for sure if that's correct? Private schools? Oh, we did too in Catholic school. Knuckles was the big thing. But underestimate this point. Tony's doing this now. My son is about 1. His birthday is tomorrow, Friday the 13th. Great first birthday. You know, kids, during the first 6 months when they cry, they have a legitimate reason for crying. They're not at a stage yet where they're manipulating you. They're soiled or they're hungry. Then around 8 months or so, they get into the so-called social cry. You can even tell the difference. It's kind of a, it's not a real cry. It's almost like, you're lucky this is being videotaped.
Don't worry.
There's no filming this.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving me some credit as not being a child abuser. That's giving them dog biscuits. Well, Mary actually is better than this, and I was having a tendency to do exactly what I shouldn't be doing. When he was whining, I would, oh, here, Tony, I'm sorry you're not happy. Mary said, Joe, just wait till he stops. And it's a very simple procedure, but a very effective procedure. Instead of responding to the whine, just waiting till he stops. We know what he wants, wait till he stops. then give them that cookie. It's a simple strategy, but most parents, and even Joe's psychologist here, you know, when you hear the whine, which is manipulative behavior, you don't want to whining toward what he wants. And I think Mary had a point. And my tendency was naturally to, oh, Tony is unhappy, respond to his whine. And what I'd be doing there is reinforcing whining behavior.
Who decides and who finally commits himself to a course of action.
On their own will.
Right.
But, okay, like for instance, Thomas Becket, did the author know? Oh, he was an existential hero, and that was a nonfiction story.
You have a modern
Was it-
looking back into a past,
Yeah.
which means that you've got a modern baggage being imposed on a medieval person's activity.
By a French existential playwright.
So I mean, you've got a
Exactly.
problem by using him as an example.
I think what Angela's point is, though, that de facto there have been existential heroes, even though we have not known them by that name.
Except there's something very particular going on here.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is, in the 19th century, you've got, for the first time, the responsibility of taking political decisions upon yourself
Yes.
as the people.
Yes.
But the problem is that you've got a Hegelian philosophy that denies your existence as an individual because the people as a person
Yes.
to express my will so
Yes.
the people can exist.
Right. And I think, too, if you consider those people whom we would consider existential heroes throughout history, whether we know them by that name or not, intellectual code or scientific code or political code, in an effort to be for self.
Okay, so no matter whether or not you're good or bad, so in other words, Hitler was an existential.
Now, that's getting to the Nietzschean component.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a difficult part of it. What Kierkegaard is saying is that there has to be a human element to this. That if I make a decision to choose a certain
Yes.
course of action,
As a power. And the power involved the commitment itself and the ability to choose the commitment. And then to act upon it. All right? Humanity was defined then as the power to commit and the ability to choose the commitment, and then to follow through with an action consistent with that commitment. Okay? Will that allows you to make choices consistent with that institution. We talked about that before. The church imposes certain rules and regulations upon its practicing members, doesn't it? If you make the choice to abide by those rules, and it is a consciously made right thing to do, just because you're conceding to your government's will does not mean you're being for others. You're still being for self. It's when you do it in full belief that it's the wrong thing to do, but it's the easy thing to do, and you do it, that you're being for others. And that's bad faith, according to the existentialist.
a key element in self-definition, or you can't say, I am a millionaire. I think anything of that nature, because those things can
Yes.
disappear, or evaporate on you, and then if they disappear, then you disappear as easily as they do.
That's right.
Mrs. Cole,
Yeah.
what if you do something for concerning other people to make it easier for someone else, even if it's something that you don't completely agree with? Say if you're going to hurt somebody by doing it, which you feel is right. Is that wrong? Is that existing for others?
I don't understand your question.
Okay,
A
say,
specific example might help. Could you provide that? I
well,
think I see what you're getting at.
say if you don't feel it's right to join a certain, a group that has some idea, but for someone else, it would be better for someone else for you to do this.
What standard are you using to make your decision? Is it internal or external?
It's external.
It would be external because
Then-
you'd be helping
then-
someone else.
Sorry. You're using somebody else's being or somebody else's identification to make your decision. You're not using your own. You're conforming to an external will.
To help someone else, so it's bad.
As long as what you're doing is an act of somebody else's will, it's bad. So like if you say, let's say you're gonna join the Nazi party because your wife wants you to. That's an example of what you were just saying.
No, because Josette's implication is that we have a moral value
Right.
in helping somebody else. That's why I'm having trouble with the specific, because I can't think of a specific situation in which helping another person would require you to pledge allegiance to something that was wrong or bad.
It wouldn't-
I just can't offhand.
Using your wife, which is an external standard, to give her a sense of well-being. So neither her choice nor your choice is authentic.
Stephen, weren't there situations in the prison camps, for example, where there was guards for some benefit or to benefit?
In order to survive, if you were Jewish in a concentration camp, that's
So I was thinking of a situation where you might be called to compromise sexual ethics, for example.
right. Well, Joseph, Jay is really close to one. Suppose your wife is Jewish and she looks German, and to hide her identity, you have to join the Nazi Party. Therefore, I can join the Nazi Party to preserve her until such time as I have to commit an act that would deny the existence of someone else.
But that's not acting.
It is acting authentically. How are you acting? You're acting to preserve her existence. All right? If you come to a point where you have to make another moral choice in the future where you have to shoot somebody to preserve your wife's existence, then you will choose to die. That would be immoral.
Okay, so to a certain point.
To a certain
do
point, you
something.
can do that. So what you're doing is identifying a moral conflict, a dilemma. And dilemmas force you to swing one way or the other, depending on the changing circumstances of the dilemma.
So we look silly. What the heck, you know? Okay, knees nice and high. A little bit. Up and out, up and out, up and out. Okay, and ski step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And twist it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And run it up and up, up, up. Bring it front. 2, 3, 4, and bring it up and out, and out, up and out, up and out, up and out. Okay, left 4, and down. Okay, arm to the front, and toe to the back, and lift it up, and 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, hand on your waist, bring the knee up in the front, extend front. Yes, I collected them all last summer. Go around in a circle. Okay, and head for deeper water. Okay, you got everybody got the balance? Kind of weird. If it hurts your wrist, go ahead and put them underneath your armpits. But kicking it circle, 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 like you're on a bike. Really make those legs work. All the way around.
Hey.
Circle, circle, circle.
Don't laugh until you've done it.
That's right.
Try it, guys.
It's easy.
I mean, this guy's filming. It's pretty quick.
Enough. Okay. Keep it going. A little bit further. Okay, come around and face each other. And you got your arms pushed down at your sides, so you're balancing right, nice, all right? Now we're going to do a scissor. So you scissor forward, and you just kind of bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you going to cross and back? 1, 2, 3. Tummies are tight. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now to the front again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and cross to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, relax your arms for a minute. Now this time, when we put the bottles back down, 7 and 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. No observers can laugh unless you want to get in here and do it with us. All right, now reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And 8. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, now bottles under your arms. Actually, it's probably easier for this one. Leaks 1.
No, you were driving before you went in the water?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Really twist it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
$75 for the first person and $10 for every other person.
In the world on the threat of mutual assured destruction. We don't trust them enough to throw our weapons into the sea. They don't trust us enough to throw their weapons into the sea. So we both have these stockpiles of nuclear bombs and missiles that have enough potential to blow the world up how many times over. And most practical, realistic type of people, even if they're not violent types themselves, would agree that this system, however expensive it might be, at least it works, right? Since 1945, we have not had a nuclear bomb go off, and we have anywhere near like happened between the Allies and the Axis powers during the last war. So, you see, it works. Nuclear weapons, or the threat of the use of nuclear weapons, work. The threat works. And a threat, of course, is a kind of violence. Cross this line, I will react a certain way. And the way I react will be very painful, and you're going to feel some kind of suffering because of it. A threat is the implied use of force. Well, we want to talk today about a man who rejects that whole philosophy. We want to talk about a man who says, if you threaten, you are as violent as if you use force. And anyone who uses force is a person who makes the world less human. And there's another way. Gandhi's other way is a philosophy of nonviolence in word as well as action, and it goes by the Hindu name of ahimsa, to have a sense of who he is. To know who he is, I think his words become a lot more interesting. So let's do a real quick biography, a real quick romp through the history of this man. 1869, Mahatma Gandhi is born in India. And remember, at this time, India is under the British rule. It is part of the Commonwealth. He is then a citizen of the empire. He is born middle class, deeply committed to the Hindu religion, the Hindu faith. And his family was also deeply religious. He married at age 16. Style was what you might call non-combative. In other words, what he tried to do was to work out compromises before they actually went to trial. His idea, his theory, being a peacemaker, not a flashy guy, not a great public orator, not a person who could organize people with a political complaint, but as a compromiser to the colored and black minority. And he was aware of it because he himself experienced it. Don't forget, he was a Hindu, and he was a dark stayed with him for the rest of his life. That people who are on the receiving end of prejudice always experience some kind of violence. It's not being thrown off a train, it's having your contracts disrespected or having some social injustice done to you. So he fights against apartheid. But again, he fights, another way of thinking of an ashram, is a collective farm. And his idea was very simple. He says, look, These whites down here have very little respect for you, but they need your money, and they need your business. Example of how they could live without dependence on the wealthy or on the white majority.